Hey everybody, this is my first update in a long time. I sort of did several updates, maybe about 7-8 updates in Russian interviews, which were like about a couple hours each, but in English that was something I did maybe 3-4 months ago. And so here is my update. The general message is that the global situation seems to go in a positive direction. That's the main message. I am pleased. I felt sometime in September, October the transformation when the situation went from going down to going up, and I don't ascribe this to any particular physical event. I'm thinking that it was more like a divine event where things just became better. Something cleared up, and something immaterial cleared up, and the situation started to develop in a positive direction. That felt pretty nicely. I think it was October 2021. So now today is January 10, 2022. So my main approach is to go all the way through. And for me, going all the way is to think about the conspirators, think about them, and try to understand their psychology, trying to understand who they are, the secret, deep state, global government, secret rulers of the world, the global elite, financial, pharmaceutical elite. Try to understand who they are, what are these beings and people, and try to understand how the situation is developing. And in this, my unique approach is to forgive them for now, and just to relax into the understanding. So it's like watching a movie and going all the way into that world and sort of just getting used to it. So they became a major influence in our life. So they didn't sort of intrude into our life as much previously, but now the intrusion is pretty obvious. Every time wearing a mask or suffering from certain restrictions, I remember about them and sort of try to predict how the situation will develop. So this interest is based on my practical needs and practical need to understand the global transformation that is happening right now and where is it going. So I'm forgiving them and trying to understand who they are and what are the relationships. So the main question, of course, is there one center or are there many centers that control the situation? And from what I see around, I can say that there is one center. The main evidence for that is that the media all over the world is very synchronized. I'm paying attention to Russian language media, and it was very noticeable when two countries which are supposed to be fighting each other, which are at war with each other, Russia and Ukraine, their leaders copied each other's expressions, like Putin said something first and Zelensky copied him the next day. So although they are fighting, there is copying of the language and also copying of the behavior. So it looks like that's all. So this fight is for show. It is organized from some central place, and Yeah, and next thing is that the countries which are supposedly at odds with each other are in certain aspects of quarantine and all the behaviors with their medical dictatorship. They behave in a very similar way. They seem to be coordinated from one center. And this is confirmed by what Jim was channeling. I asked many times, I keep asking, and we interviewed someone from so-called cabal, and we keep asking different entities and beings about the cabal. So the repetitive message from them was that there are about 50 people or 50 members at the top, and of them many are Jews. I think I don't remember exactly, but say maybe 20 are Jews and 5 are Zeta reptilians and 5 are 12 Zeta Greys, something of that sort. So this is a very small group, and it's well coordinated. It is in agreement with, in complete agreement and well coordinated. They are not fighting between each other, and they're so secretive that none of them is public. And I understand that public figures don't even know who these people are. Public figures are separated by many layers of secrecy and protection from the top. So the global elite is way, way, way above the public figures. So my understanding that Putin and other presidents have no clue who is controlling them. They know their immediate handlers. It's a nice word, handler. It comes from intelligence world. But anyway, Putin and other leaders of the world know the immediate handlers, but they don't know who is at the top. So that makes tons of sense, because they behave like they don't actually know. They behave like they are playing with a lot of unknowns, and they behave like they are pretty irresponsible, and the leaders behave like they're very irresponsible, and there is someone at the top which controls them. So that's a major feeling. So what is their agenda? When the quarantine started, obviously we were all afraid that the agenda is satanistic, and the agenda was the extermination of the humanity. But from their choices, I don't think so. I think it looks pretty benign. I think they are dependent on the economy continuing. The secret government is dependent on the resources we produce, the products we produce, and they need internet and infrastructure of the world to continue. And my understanding is that their interest is to actually fix the economy and make it more manageable on a global level. So the humanity obviously is developing in such a way that it is unsustainable. The ecology is suffering. The expansion of population isn't supported by the improvement of technologies and social structures. In other words, the population is unmanageable at the moment, And if it is left to itself, at least from their perspective, if it is left to itself, the crisis will crash the economy, and the humanity will be thrown back into the dark ages. So I think they are trying to keep the economy going. That's my main understanding, because when the quarantine started and everybody was scared, by all logical predictions, the market should have crashed, because lots of enterprises broke, went down, bankrupted, consumption went down. So there was a lot of factors, huge factors, that should have crushed the economy, but somehow the financial controllers kept the economy going and didn't start the crash. And they sort of just rearranged things. They allowed inflation to rise, to go high, but to a certain level which is reasonably healthy. So inflation is healthy in one way and is detrimental in another way. The healthy side of the inflation is that the debt of the people, individuals, companies, countries is swallowed by the inflation. Basically, if money are devalued by, say, 50%, then the debt of everybody who is in debt also goes down 50%. Everybody's salary and incomes also go down, but the modern debts, the current debts, are one of the main troubles of the economy. It is paralyzed by the fact that everybody is in debt, and it's in a very unhealthy state. So too much inflation is also bad, because investments stop working, and the economical mechanisms stop working if the inflation is too high. We witnessed that in Russia in the 90s, and also many other countries experienced superinflation, and it is very unhealthy for the economy. So the financial controllers, they keep it at a certain healthy level. And here I want to say another thing, is that the controllers of the world, they seem to have some influence, but not huge influence on what is happening. The reason their influence is small is obscure, but I think they don't have unlimited resources. They have very limited resources. They basically have to secretly manipulate the world and steal some resources from it. So the fact that the economy didn't crash meant there was some hidden resources in the economy which they released. But I don't think their stock of the resources is unlimited. I think their resources are limited. Somehow it was also obvious that they control the media, all the medical industry. They fully control the medical industry. They fully control large and small governments. And I think they control major networks of corporations. But they don't control individuals, and they don't fully control individuals, and they don't fully control small businesses. So that's, I think, is the situation. So they have a limited amount of control. And also the control is contingent, the control is dependent on the secrecy. As soon as they become, their network becomes visible and perceived by the humanity, I think they will be busted, because they will be responsible for the biological attack on the humanity that they did. So on one hand, they did something very preposterous, and they attacked the humanity and killed a certain number of people. I don't know exact number. I don't even know the order of magnitude, but some number of millions, maybe tens of millions. And at the same time, they grab the control over the population in a much stronger way. I think in general, a big scare, a big global scare leads to the population allowing to take the control over it. So the scare which we experienced, the planet experienced, leads to people looking for protection from the governments, and people are eager to give more of their freedoms away to the system. That happened after the big depression of 1929, after the market crash of 1929. That led to the rise of totalitarianism all over the world, including United States, Germany, Europe, Russia, South America. All these places went totalitarian, and that's what happened now. So the big fear of people, big scare, leads to people giving away their freedoms, and second, it leads to war. So we're expecting, everybody is expecting some wars to start. Still, I think that the situation is much better than it could have been. I think it is just a phase, and the fact that we are going to totalitarian, and the fact that we will have some wars might be not as scary. This situation might be not as scary as it could have been. It's kind of, the evil is there, but it is moderate, and I think it intends to keep the control. It intends to keep the global economy going. And again, through channelings of Jim Charles, we learned that they have a plan to first scare the planet and then to come and save it. So the scare could be the war, and then they sort of stop the war and restore the order. The global government appears, restores the order. Obviously, it will give away some of the give away some of their leaders, like Bill Gates might go down, and some other implicated criminals might go down, but the new system might come in place, like global system, which will sort of be nice and clean, and people would support the new system, which will bring the order and bring the global government and bring the financial improvements, material improvements. So why this is happening, I think, as part of that is that it is the planet is overdue creating the global government. We should have much more coordination, and somehow we fail to have that. Now, it is quite possible that the cabal, the elite, might keep the countries. They might not destroy the countries, they might keep them for the show, for demonstration, to still divide and conquer, while centralizing everything else. So we already have corporations which penetrate the government borders, the country borders, and this, like Russia is being Americanized very quickly. There is American and Chinese capital working actively in Russia. So many other countries are also subjected to globalization. I recently found a site where I could listen to lots of different radio stations from all over the world. You kind of browse the world, click on the map, browse the globe, and listen to different radio stations. I was surprised that most of the world, like 90% or 95% of the world, is playing American music and running American or at least English-speaking advertisements. So somehow the world is Americanized in a big way. Is being Americanized in a big way. So I think what is coming is individual mind control technologies. China already has so-called social credit score. So every person in China get an electronic score, and depending on their behavior relative to the system and to the society, their score is reflects their behavior. They're given a score. So a good score gives them promotions, better jobs, better discounts, better permissions to move around, and negative low social score gives them demotions. They lose jobs, lose discounts, and lose ability to move around. So it's like a prison system, or the class or the school system with scores. And I think this problem, this technical solution solves the major problem of the humanity, the lack of motivation. So in the Soviet system, people were demotivated because they couldn't have private property, they couldn't have small businesses, and everybody's income was standardized. It's hard for Americans to understand this, but Soviet Union didn't have any private enterprise whatsoever. It was a crime to have a private enterprise. So all enterprises, including flower shops and clinics, everything was government. So everything looked like an American post office or the police department. The whole country, like every enterprise, was government controlled. It was government, and they all sort of brought their income to the government, and then government distributed the income more or less equally to the masses. There were like secret factories and secret research institutes where the income was super high, but it was sort of these factories were protected, so these were like islands, or they're called boxes, but basically secured settlements. So the majority of the country had standardized income. So and that led to loss of interest, loss of motivation. People weren't motivated to behave in a positive way to the system, so they destroyed the system. And the Western world has the opposite situation, that people are motivated to enrich themselves, but they behave against the system very often. They are not manageable. So in Soviet Union and in China, people are manageable by the system, and in the Western world, the people are not manageable. So this system of credit score, social scores, allows the system to motivate people and manage them at the same time. Soviet Union, Russia also introduced so-called QR codes, which essentially control the individuals. The social score is not yet introduced, but they're moving very fast in this direction. So they are also introducing some sort of a system of controlling the individual's finances and rewarding and punishing individuals for social and asocial behavior. In Russia, there is reporting someone else's asocial behavior is now very well promoted by the system. So people are photographing others doing something negative and reporting that. So lots of reporting is happening. So people report on each other. So I think the system is being developed to be unleashed to the world. Also, we know there are technologies which are called voice of God technologies, or implanted electronic implants, or some other mind control technologies. So Chilean president reportedly said on the television, he said that because Chile was so good in accepting the medical procedure, the popular medical procedure, then they are qualified now to proceed to the next step, which is emotion control, electronic emotional control of the masses, and implanting of false memories into the masses. And he was very proud. It was a television announcement that this program is being unleashed in Chile now. So essentially, this brings us to a combination of the modern popular medical procedure with 5G technologies, which are, I know from my research that 5G is able of controlling and neutralizing, at least neutralizing emotions. It sort of makes people happier and relaxed. But I think it can be manipulated to some other emotions as well. 5G is a radiation in the range of mega to gigahertz. Elon Musk, which I think is playing the double game, so it's doing positive and negative things at the same time, because he's under control and pressure. He already released, I think now, thousands of satellites which are equipped with 5G radiation technologies, and I think he said that he is funded, or he will do many more thousands. I think there was a number of tens of thousands of satellites which would deliver 5G technologies to the planet from the space. So I think it is the part of the same plan to have an individual control over, to have the control over the people and individualizing this control. I also am aware of the technology where they remotely can implant voices into people, and I think they're also developing that. It's called voice of God, and it has other names, and there are several technological solutions for that. So in the past, in the long distant past, in the times of Anunnaki, maybe tens of thousands of years ago, the humans had the connection to the voice of God, which was called Logos, and they had supervision, and at any moment they could ask questions and get answers. And at some point this voice of God stopped, and humanity lost the connection, and people became independent, and they couldn't talk to God anymore. And so that's the story. I'm getting it from McKenna, and McKenna is I think he knew stuff, and so I think it was artificial intelligence, not actually God, but artificial intelligence, which was controlling individuals which were created by the aliens. I think Anunnaki created us, and they had the technology implanted, and at some point they just stopped using it by some reason. Maybe they went away and the technology just broke, or there was some other maybe reason. In any case, I think what is happening, we are getting this technology back, and individuals will be controlled by the computerized universal system, and the algorithms of the system, I think they're already capable of manipulating everyone. I think the system is smart enough to manipulate everyone and control everyone. So people become motivated and supervised and guided by the computerized system to work for the benefit of the global society and the controllers. So why do controllers actually need our resources? I think the economy, it's called runaway civilization. The name was given by Richard Dolan from Rochester. So this runaway civilization, the controllers, they take the resources and produce products from the planet and export it to the galaxy. It's already happening. So they need the planet to be manageable and to keep producing. That's why they keep the economy going. So that's my main explanation. And introducing the voice of God and mind control, I think, is their solution to making the system more organized and producing better. So obviously it is pretty scary from the perspective of individuals, but it is also beneficial from the planetary view, because that would possibly allow them to make the economy more efficient and ecology more sustainable. Economy more sustainable and to improve the ecology. I observe that we are living in a matrix. So this is the matrix, and it's a collective dream. And the major rule of this collective dream is that the free choice, free will, is the primary principle of this matrix. So the fact that they're introducing the voice of God is seemingly in conflict with the rule of free will. So I think what will happen is that the voice of God will have advisory function, and people would still be choosing between entering the system and becoming part of the global control system, or to be independent. And submitting to the system would give them material benefits, and being independent would be punished in many ways. So I think there will be still a lot of choices and freedom. And even when they submit to the system, they will still have some freedoms. And for people to be healthy, the voice of God has to manipulate them in such a way that they are still interested and engaged. So I think that's, from what I'm seeing, even in Russia, there is a lot of ways to go around the system, or at least play with the system in such a way that the person still gets their spiritual lessons and still progress and still remains relatively healthy. Same thing I think happens in China. Chinese system is not completely totalitarian. It's not completely total dictatorship. It has a lot of totalitarian features, but there is a lot of free enterprise, and human relationships are huge in China. So things are being developed. Things are developing. Now, where all of this is going, I think, is that right now we are being manipulated by this runaway civilization, which is partly alien. And I think we are due, in maybe 10 to 50 years, we are due to take humans are when they build this control system, I think they will hand it off to the to humans. I think that's what will happen. So right now it's like they are exploiting humanity, but also moving along the divine guidelines to create a globalized system and a globalized, how do you say, very well entangled system. And once they create this very well entangled system, they will just give it to us. So the humanity then will have to make it more humane and improve the ability of humans to cooperate and have free will. I think on the way, as humans become plugged into the network, this network of humans will essentially become telepathic. Actually, the network, it will be telepathic networks where people will be telepathic. So when people are plugged into a technological network, into internet, we will develop a hive mind, and this is also divinely beneficial, which will lead us to ascension. So somehow this evil plot by evil controllers is moving us in the right direction. So now what I think we should be doing is to worry less about this global plot and focus more on individual happiness and sort of it's a combination of things, because just thinking only about the global takeover of power makes us very unhappy, and this brings our vibrations down and immerses us into this negative power struggle, and also gives more power to the controller, because when we pay more attention to them, it takes away the power from us and empowers them. So I think it's very nice to be aware of what is happening, but still be happy and see that things are developing in a positive direction, and that the planet and the civilization is very likely to survive, and we should be preparing basically the transformation of this system to a more positive one. So once we are aware of this, we might work within the system to awaken ourselves and others, and to drive and steer it towards the positive timeline. Essentially what happens is there are multiple timelines, and we just ended up here because it was interesting to us. I think it's still very interesting what is happening. It's a huge drama, the takeover of the economy, takeover of the planet, of the civilization. But I think this drama has a pretty good outcome, and we should focus on this outcome and help it develop. That's my understanding. I think the current secret government is such because the people are such. Basically, the government reflects the people. And when the people change, then the government will change. And it's premature to change the government now, because the old one is also bad, and the new one is not yet ready. So I think we have what we have because it's the optimum for now. It sounds weird, but I think maybe what happened now, that attack on the humanity, biological attack on the humanity, is pretty balanced. It's a huge trauma, of course, but I think maybe it will lead to the positive outcome. It doesn't kill humanity, and when the secrets come out, I think it is a huge awakening lesson for everybody, even for us. I never mentioned the V word yet, but I met a lot of light workers and teachers who claim that the V word, the subject of the V word doesn't exist. And I think that's a huge mistake. I think in other respects they are very nice and explain the conspiracy very nicely, but from a scientific point of view, the V word is real. And I think what people need to understand, that the science of energy medicine doesn't neglect the material science. Whatever is in Wikipedia and material science is still true, and V word is still true. It's only on top of it there is a lot of energy medicine which needs to be added. So I don't want to pronounce it here, but we can on YouTube, but we can discuss this in other platforms. But from scientific point of view, I'm sure V word is real, and actually there are two V words. The infection V word is real. Infection V word is real, and the medical procedure V word is partly real, and partly there is some secret in it which we don't know what it is. So I think the overall scare and overall necessities would lead to people understanding the biology much better, and that would also hopefully will help people understand the energy medicine as well, and this will lead to another huge awakening in terms of energy medicine and practical spirituality. So I'm pretty positive in that direction as well. One of the huge lessons for the humanity is that everything has been hijacked, including the medicine. So the nicest of doctors now are forced to comply with the pretty anti-human agenda. So I hope that this will come out eventually, and the masses will awaken to the truth. In Soviet Union, we learned that the awakenings were pretty much always guided from the top. So when the government basically the government introduced the freedoms and so-called free speech. I mean, it wasn't real free speech, but introduced the idea of free speech. Then the truths came out. I don't know if right now the truths are pronounced by people, by us, by the researchers, and by aware. There is a lot of aware people. So I meet pieces here and there about what I'm teaching, so I'm not alone here. So it just is not. It's the truth is already out here. It's even on YouTube, but somehow the true messages are not being heard and not being understood by the people. So my hope is that people will eventually awaken and figure things out, especially when the system will be experiencing hiccups. Basically, as I said, the controllers have limited influence on the situation. There is a lot of unpredictable circumstances. I think what happened is that the infection was not as powerful and as they thought, and they didn't spread as much as they seeded it. I'm pretty sure they seeded it, but the for some reason, maybe because of divine intervention, maybe because of alien intervention, or maybe just because of the biology, the humans became more resistant to the infection. And so I think they didn't achieve, maybe they didn't achieve the goals that they set. I'm not sure, but I suspect they didn't. And also, when they planned to introduce the totalitarian control of the situation and grab more control, I think they weren't able to grab as much control as they wished. So I think they are only partially successful, and there is a lot of unpredicted process on the planet which are natural for the planet. This planet is very unpredictable, and I don't think the complete totalitarian control is possible on this planet. Obviously, we have some big wave of totalitarianism coming and going, and we are immersed in more of the dictatorship, medical dictatorship, totalitarian control, but there is still some freedom left, and there is still a lot of resistance to it. And I think this planet is more like supported. There is a lot of resistant energies, and I think grassroots movements will sort of restore the planet to more freedom. That's my big hope. Even in Russia, there are some. I mean, while the government is sort of negative and pushes trying to grab more power, there is a lot of this. This by itself gives rise to resistance. So the more they push, the more resistance is there. Also, the totalitarian system, by its nature, it pretends to be nice. Like the medical dictatorship pretends to be caring of people. And when they bring up new generations, they sort of bring up generations which are honest. They train honest workers. And when honesty is applied to this situation, then these honest people basically will dig out the lies and bring the truth, and bring up the truth. So basically, it's although the system is corrupt, I think it is people will see the corruption of the system, its anti-human tendencies, and will try to fix it. Will try to fix it. So with that, I conclude. I wish you all to be happy, focus on your own spiritual upliftment, and see the positive side of the events, while being clear-minded and actually seeing the real picture. But you also can see the positive side and be positive. And you can find me on the site maxrempel.com, and I have all my materials listed there. So this talk will also be there. Have a good day. Humma hamma 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 hamma. Oh la hiya 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 hanna. Oh hiya 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 hiya. Oh la hiya humma mamma mamma.